Hey, Skylar here with the second segment of my story. I don't know how many segments are actually going to be in this. I just know that I'm taking it step by step because there's a lot to it. And for me, it's kind of a bit emotional. And this wall thing is really reminding me of some of it. I'll start out with when I was young, I went to school like a lot of kids. I can't say all kids because not all kids get that. But when I went to school, I was teased, tormented, and physically hurt by students and by teachers alike. Pens, pencils, erasers, shoes being thrown at me, being told I was as silly, that I belonged on a funny farm, that I was a hopeless case, that I didn't belong, and then I had a family that supported this, didn't have much positive to say about me, and well, I was being taken from one church to another and just completely confused. My mom finally got me into a church where I actually enjoy it. It wasn't too preachy. In fact, it was very, very self-paced. And I got into the Bible, and there was a lot of understanding. I struggled with my dad desperately throughout my whole entire life, but I kept clinging to the fifth commandment of honoring your parents. And I studied in the Bible quite a bit. I prepared for missions, and I knew that in my heart I was meant for missions. I didn't know what kind, I just knew that I love to travel. I still love to travel to this day. I love to share my story anywhere and everywhere, though most don't listen, but hey, you know, maybe sometimes they will. So, anyhow, but I'm not too preachy because I don't like that kind of turn off, tune out, get out of my way. So, anyhow, I studied basically. They said that I didn't do it correctly, or maybe I was just so young. I was the youngest for learning. I was 16 at the time, and that was pretty young for then. Anyhow, I don't know if anybody that young has gone through it since. Don't know if they put an age limit. It really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is they said you'll know you graduated when you've gone out and actually been successful. Well, I was by a lot. I traveled to abroad, and I did, and I was truly successful. So I didn't need a paper, and to this day I don't feel that you do need a paper. If you're going to prove what you got, show it in your actions, not in your words. So anyways, by the time I got into my junior year of high school, I was wanting to work on graduating early. That was really attractive to me. I really was into hardworking because before I entered into high school, I wanted to be in theater and entertainment. I studied choir. I studied music. I studied live theater. I studied television. I studied dance. I was all about it. And then my 8th grade year, I remember this to this day. It haunts me to this day that I got so ill with the flu. I was out for over 14 days. Or maybe it was 14 days. Anyways, the school that specialized in arts and entertainment said because I lived outside of their district that I couldn't be a part of their school for my freshman year in high school. And it devastated me because at the same time as I was hearing this from the school system, I was hearing from my family, you're living in a never land. This isn't going to work. You can't be in theater arts and entertainment and be able to do all this. So I decided, okay, so I can't be in arts and entertainment. I can't express myself. I can't do any of this. So fine. So I went to the local school. And by this time, I started learning business. I started learning how to function as a self-employed person. Now, I didn't understand at the time what this meant, but it was very attractive to me. I'm in charge of my schedule, my destiny, my everything. Okay, this is what I thought at the time. And so when they tell me, oh, if you go to school and you get these credits, then you can graduate early. Well, that was really attractive to me, so I could move on, get ahead, because I had been pulled back a year. So I wanted to try and advance and get ahead back to normal. And so by my junior year, that's what I did. I went to work in retail, working for retail credit. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a nightmare. I was very into guys. Didn't have any boyfriend. I mean, not. I had a boyfriend, kind of, but it wasn't. It was long distance. But he was my sweetheart. And I didn't realize until much later just how much of a sweetheart. That's a later part of my story. Anyhow, so I was so engrossed in the work that when they brought in somebody new into the work, and I I thought, ooh, all dressed nice, suit, outfit, really nice. Now, I'd seen my dad and I'd seen my uncle in nice outfits, but they're family. This wasn't a family. This was actual, So I was like, oh my gosh. So, well, I was in awe. And I watched him, and, well, long story short, I ended up working with him. And even shorter story, I ended up getting in a fight with him the very first night that we worked together. And then, shortly thereafter, we ended up dating. Now, mind you, I never had brothers, so I didn't understand all the ins and outs of guys. In fact, they made me very nervous. So I got to know him a little bit, and but by my junior year end, he had basically helped me to sever every single relationship. If it wasn't him, it was my parents. Severing every relationship that I had. I was not allowed to go to any school functions alone. Even before he came into the picture, I had to have an escort to the function, even though it was chaperoned. I had to have, I had to be chaperoned to and from, and my family wouldn't do it. So I ended up, for my junior prom, this guy took me there, and he brought me home, and we went traveling together, spent time together, and I broke up with him. I only for a short time, but we ended up coming back together again, and we kept getting into these little issues, and by the end of my junior year, why I had lost my job. They wrote my name out in red ink because I was just struggling to function in it and deal with him and deal with my family and deal with school. Just getting too much for a teenager. And then I went into my senior year. Now, my senior year, I wanted to go to the Marianas, to the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands. I wanted to leave him. I wanted to get away from it all. I wanted to have my own space and to really be educated. And the counselor even said, "Why do you think they're all coming over here? They want a better education." Well, I didn't see it like that. And to this day, I feel that they did me a wrong there. And this is where the end of this part segment comes in, is because my senior year would have been night and day different had I been allowed to do that. So I don't know if it's because my parents couldn't afford it. I don't know. But what I do know is that throughout my senior year, I really struggled heavily. My friends were distancing themselves away from me. Everybody was breaking it off from me. I wasn't understanding, and I the dynamics there were just confusing for me. And I see what happened now. I didn't see it then because I was right in the middle of it and I didn't understand the concept of abuse. So, anyhow, by that time, I had realized that I was really struggling to keep up with my classmates. So I went to the counselor and told her I wanted to be evaluated academically. Where am I in these different, in reading, math, English, and writing? And so went and got tested, came back, and I was bad. She said, "Oh no, this is normal." I was at a freshman, sophomore level trying to graduate as a senior. Now, mind you, I had already been held back. When I got into my freshman year, I had already been held back a year. And to just say that I was still at a freshman level, I shared the information with my mom. I was immediately taken to a psychiatrist, and evaluation was done immediately, and it was diagnosed that I had ADHD with, at that time, they did not have all the different terms, but I was diagnosed with bipolar, with dyslexia, and I think it was schizophrenia at the time. They nixed schizophrenia since then because they realized what was going on. So, but that's besides the point. By that time, they put me on lithium, Ritalin for the ADHD because I was drinking a pot of coffee, like 12 cup coffee carafe a day. So my doctor said, no more of that. You need Ritalin to save your stomach. And so I did this as a way for me to be able to function, and it helped. Had I only had this back, if they had only tested me way back when, I would have had a lot easier time in school. But through this process, I told my boyfriend at the time, I told him, I don't want anything more to do with you. I broke it off. Clean break. And for my spring break, it was really weird because I was living with my dad, and so it was really weird for me. But needless to say, by the time it was said and done, we were brought back together. I told my mom, no, we're broken apart. By the time I graduated, I said, no, I don't want him at my graduation. I don't want him at my graduation party. I don't want anything to do with him. My mom made sure that he was at my graduation party, made sure that he was at my graduation, and made sure that he was there all along. So, by the time it was said and done, I was struggling big time. I graduated, and then 3 days later, I ended up with 102-degree temperature and the flu. And he had convinced my family that I was mental. Now, mind you, at that time, I was still trying to be involved in church. I was still trying to be involved in choir. I was still trying to be involved in entertainment. I still clung to that dream. I still wanted to be in entertainment and in all of that stuff. And I still wanted to be in business, and I still wanted to, I still wanted to do all of these things. And, well, he saw a note at the side of my bed, and he took the note. I bought a passport with my graduation money. So he was convinced between the graduation money and the passport with, and so he convinced them the graduation money for the passport. I had a prepaid card, and I had the note by my side. I was going to kill myself because I was wrapped in a ball at the end of my bed. So he had my mom, he had my dad, he had my counselor convinced I was going to kill myself, had me thrown in the hospital. They measured me and said I had a 102-degree temperature and the flu. I was in the infirmary for the first 3 days of a 7-day stint in the mental ward because they were convinced that I was going mental because of this man. They got me better. They got me walking. So I had to talk really cute to get myself out of there. And I had been given little things from my island boyfriend, who I really wanted to be with for this whole entire time. And I had never changed. I really wanted to be with him. I just didn't have the way to do it. And so I managed to get out of there and told my dad later, oh yeah, you mean the 102-degree temperature and the flu? And it was a mental necessity because he was convinced that I needed to be in there, the mental ward, until he said, you mean that was an expensive medical stay? Yeah. Because when they released me, this is one more of those marks where I knew that I was supposed to be with this man. Because they said, we can't release her to just we have to release her. She can't be on her own. I could have, but that's besides the point. I had been put on lithium. I'd been put on Ritalin. And I was told that I needed to stay on them and be evaluated, blood monitor. My mom didn't want me. My dad didn't want me. So they said, here, go and be with this man, your boyfriend. Now, mind you, in my heart, in my soul, I wanted to be in the islands. I didn't want to be with this man. But there's a third time that I was being pushed into this. There were many other times when, it got even worse, because that was the third time. There are more times that this happened. But that's the end of this segment of my story, that I was pushed into this man's arms again. At this point, being declared that I have mental health issues, therefore I'm mental. I am slow at learning, and therefore I have just so many issues going on. I'm mentally incompetent. But am I? Until next time.